Whether it's your first ever liveaboard or you've already been on one or two, there are a few questions that you should be asking to be sure that you're signing up for the right liveaboard and that you're not missing out on anything or you get like blindsided by a large bill at the end of your trip. Hi, all of you awesome scuba divers out there, welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine channel, your favourite place for the latest scuba diving news and gear reviews. Liveaboards are by far my favourite way to go scuba diving because they're floating dive sites that feed you as well. But there are some things that you do need to know and think about when you're booking a trip so that you are fully prepared for the trip and there are no surprises other than like an unexpected sea turtle or something awesome. Since 1987, the Explorer Ventures liveaboard fleet has been delivering world-class diving experiences, blending authentic diving experiences, safety and sustainability. Offering unparalleled adventure in some of the world's most breathtaking underwater destinations, their fleet of well-appointed vessels ensures every guest enjoys the highest level of comfort and safety. Explorer Ventures is proud to be the first liveaboard company to collaborate with Greenfins, achieving certifications on 4 of their vessels. Notably, the Tiburon Explorer and Humboldt Explorer are the only PADI eco centers designated in the Galapagos, emphasizing their commitments to sustainability and responsible diving practices. With exceptional diving destinations, an array of itineraries around the globe, and diver-focused design across their entire fleet, every voyage is tailored for comfort, convenience, and adventure on land and sea. Explorer Ventures sets the industry standard, offering unparalleled diving experiences globally. Book your next liveaboard trip with Explorer Ventures by visiting explorerventures.com. Most liveaboards have a minimum experience requirement that you need to check first. It varies depending on the itinerary, but it's usually in the form of you must have so many log dives and a certification level or above. Ask the liveaboard provider what the minimum requirements are and make sure that you do meet those requirements. Also ask yourself if you're ready. Just because you have logged those dives in your logbook and you have a certain cert card doesn't necessarily mean that you have the experience and the confidence with everything that you will come across on a liveaboard. Some dive sites can have strong currents. You may be expected to do like negative entries where you roll in from a rib backwards with no gas in your BCD and just head straight down without like bobbing around on the surface first, making sure that your buddy's okay. You just go for it. Getting back into the rib from the water, stuff like that. So have a chat with the operator and ask what you might be expected to do on this particular trip that you're thinking about signing up to see if that you are ready for that itinerary, and they may be able to better recommend a more suitable itinerary to start with if you're unsure. Is Nitrox included in the price? If you're Nitrox qualified, it can be a great way to just take the edge off the number of dives that you'll be doing. With liveaboards, you're upwards of like 4 or 5 dives a day, and that can be quite tiring despite doing absolutely nothing between dives. But Nitrox does really take that edge off. And some liveaboards, Nitrox is included in the price, where others it's an additional cost. You want to know which is the case, and if there is a charge, how much is it? On most liveaboards I've ever been on, the Nitrox system is quite simple. You start with air. The first cylinder, the first dive, your check dive is just air, and then you're given like some kind of tag by the crew to put around the neck of the cylinder. Something fairly conspicuous that just informs the fillers that when they're filling up the cylinders, fill this cylinder with Nitrox instead of air. They usually provide a communal analyzer so that you can check your gas mix before every dive, but double check just to make sure that Nitrox either is included in that price or whether it's an additional charge, because if it's included, you want to make the most out of it. Ask what food and drink is included in the price, and more importantly, what isn't included. In most liveaboards, all your meals are included, breakfast, lunch and dinner whilst you're on board, as well as like snacks and things. Drinks, tea, coffee, water and fruit juice are usually included. Fizzy drinks are a bit of a maybe. Some boats will have like an honour system where you just tally how many fizzy drinks that you've taken out of a fridge over the week. Alcohol. Some boats have a selection of alcoholic beverages that you can add to your tab, but of course drinking and diving isn't really recommended, so don't go there expecting like a fully stocked bar. If you can't go a full week without alcohol, then ask what the boat carries and what the costs are, and if you can bring your own at all. Those liveaboards with alcohol included can save you a fair bit, so it's worth paying attention to like package inclusions. Liveaboards usually have dive guides, professional divers who know the dive sites like the backs of their hands, and you want to know how many guides are going to be on board and if they specifically lead dives or let you kind of do your own things. It's not unusual to have 2 or 3 dive guides on a liveaboard, and they can separate the group into 2 or 3 groups, leading each of them. Alternatively, some liveaboards have a single dive guide in the water as like a critter spotter, but most certified guests then just kind of take off in their buddy pairs to explore easily navigable sites, or if you want to, you can just hang around the guide. Splitting everyone up into 2 or more groups just means that there's a bit more space on the deck. When they call that we're going to go on a dive, it's not everyone cramming onto the dive deck all at once. You get group A or group 1 who gets them all kitted up, and then just as they're diving in the water, group B or group 2 starts to go down, so there's a bit more space for everyone. So ask if the guides guide every dive, or if you're kind of left to your own devices, or kind of what the deal is there. Some divers do prefer to do their own thing. Others prefer to go on guided tours. Whichever you are, it's best to ask ahead of time to know what the situation is. There are a variety of cabin styles on most liveaboards, from staterooms to suites, but also on different decks and positions in the boat. Double or twin beds are fairly standard. You want to know what you're getting in the room that you want, and what facilities it has. Do you have your own shower and toilet, or is there a communal one? Do the rooms have AC? Ask those kinds of questions. And yes, you want to know if you have any choice in the location of your cabin. Personally, I prefer cabins that are a bit higher up for just the fresh air, and they're further from the engine and the compressor noise as well. If you're traveling during the night and the engine noise is going to keep you up, then try to ask if you can be cabined furthest from the engine. Cabins nearer the water line are often better for those for like the minimum amount of motion. So just kind of whatever suits you best, see if they can put you in a specific cabin. You of course need to know what dive gear you need to pack so that you're not blindsided by a rental fee. There's a very keen focus on diver safety today. For obvious reasons, it's a good thing. So it's not unusual for them to require each diver, or sometimes one diver in a buddy pair, to have their own DSMB. Dive computer as well. Dive computers are pretty common nowadays. It's usually expected for every diver to have their own dive computer, and a torch as well, especially if you're going on night dives or like wreck penetrations. Any gear that you don't bring yourself, you're going to need to rent from them. Make a list of what you need to bring, and of course what it will cost you if you don't bring something. Remember to let the vessel know in advance if you do need something, because whilst they do have a lot of stuff on liveaboards, they're not going to have like enough for every single diver. If they suddenly turn around and like all 20 of you say, hey, I need a torch, they're not going to have that kind of stock just ready to rock and roll. Some itineraries also include a shore-based activity. you anchor up and you like take the small boat to a remote island for a barbecue or like hike some exotic jungles or something, which you won't want to do in flip-flops. Ask the organizer for a list of anything that they recommend that you bring for that particular itinerary, and if there's anything that they'd recommend that you leave at home as well, because too often you go on a trip and then when you're packing you bring it back, you go, oh actually I never really used this. It would have been nice if someone told me that I don't need to bring whatever it is. Fire safety is a big one today. We've seen too many dive boat fires that have taken lives, so you must ask about fire safety procedures and equipment on the liveaboard. Ask about the vessel's fire and smoke detectors, how frequently they're tested, ask where they're located, and they're not going to think twice if someone actually tests them yourself. Ask about fire prevention procedures regarding electronic devices and if there's any roaming night watchmen. At the beginning of the trip, there should always be a safety briefing, regardless of whether you've been on that particular liveaboard or not. Just like the briefing on an aeroplane, you do need to pay attention to it. And after that, go to your cabin, or I usually go to my cabin, find my life jacket just to make sure, and then I walk my escape route as if I've like just woken up in the middle of the night, I've been asleep in bed and the worst happens. It's just building up that kind of muscle memory so that you know that, oh, left, right, left, out the stairs and such and such. If you have any questions about any like fire safety or like emergency procedures, just ask the crew early whilst you have the chance. You need to know if there are any like visa, vaccinations or like requirements for any part of the trip. Whilst the majority of your trip is going to be spent on the liveaboard itself, you're still entering a foreign country at the beginning, and that country may have legal entry requirements, dress codes, and nasty bugs that bite you. So you need to check up on those kind of things. On most itineraries, you end where you started, but you do need to be sure of whose waters you're entering and if there are any fees. There are some areas of the oceans that you do need to pay for, and they're not going to just like leave you in a dinghy on the border because you didn't want to pay for it whilst the rest of the group go for a dive. So ask about any like entry visas into the countries that you need to apply for beforehand, any jabs or vaccinations that you may need to organize with your doctor. Also be mindful of marine park regulations like no glove rules, maximum depths or other kind of policies put in place for diver safety and the protection of the reef. So be kind to the crew tasked you with enforcing these rules. They don't come up with the rules. They just have to enforce these kind of rules because you just end up ruining it. And if they allow too many divers with gloves or going down too deep or whatever, they're just going to ban all divers altogether. So be kind to the crew. You want to ask what it's actually like to go diving where you're going. What's the water temperature going to be like that time of year? That determines, of course, what level of exposure protection you should pack. Is there a lot of current where you're going to be diving? Do you need to bring like the beefy fins with like reef hooks and stuff, or are your lighter fins going to be enough? What marine life are you likely to see at that particular time of year, or is there a better time of year to go? You need to start getting excited about your next diving holiday, but you also need to know what contingencies there might be should the weather suddenly turn that time of year. Sure, they'll try to get you to certain dive sites, but sometimes bad weather prevents access to some areas, and you want to know what like plan B is. If you sign up for a trip to go and see such and such, okay, what if in the unlikely event that we can't make it there, what is plan B? So those are a handful of questions that I usually ask when I'm booking a liveaboard. It usually comes down to, I mean, the serious ones are like the legal like visa and vaccination requirements. You want to make sure that you're up to date with that. Dive equipment as well. You want to make sure that you have and you're packing everything that you need to, and you're not packing what you don't need to. Just just to get an idea of what's going on. And it is always good to have a chat, and most liveaboard operators are really easy to chat to, Explorer Ventures especially. It's definitely worth heading over to their website. Check out all their different trips, and just have a chat with them. Just sort of say, even if you don't know like which specific itinerary you want to go on, just have a chat with them. Just say, hey, I really want to see such and such. How's the best way to do that? Or I kind of want to visit this country or these waters, this oceans. What would you recommend? And just have a chat with them. They'll break it all down and make it as easy as possible. So yeah, I'll pop links to their website down in the description below, and one will pop up in the corner up here. Also remember to head over to our website and our social media channels, because we're kind of mixing it up. Well, we're not really mixing it up, we're streamlining it as we speak, because we just had too many like duplicates. We're trying to make it a bit more streamlined. Remember to like, share, subscribe to all that good social media stuff. Otherwise, thank you for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.